How you doing? I'm Mike. I don't know if this is going to be the Sunday night chat video. If you're watching this on Sunday, then it's the Sunday night chat video, but it happens to be Saturday night. This is a redo. I'm redoing a video. I did a video on this subject, my Hitman story. I don't know, probably several years ago, maybe 3 years ago. It's a true story. It's a good story. But I was driving and I was working. I was in a backyard working. And I was trying, I thought that would be cool. I didn't have a mic. I don't have my mic now. Apologies. The sound probably isn't as good as what you're used to. I hope this isn't a problem for some of you. I'm going to tell the story starting in a different way. I'm going to rehash a little bit about my life with my dad, so you understand where I'm coming from. Because the story is that this dude that I met went around for 7 years. He's in the film industry telling everybody that I was a hitman. I'm not going to confirm nor deny anything I'm telling you here in this story. I'm certainly not going to incriminate myself, but we'll get to the reason why he thought that, and I'll tell you the story and how it went on from there. It's true, like where I come from, that a lot of people in Jersey, we grow up around that environment, right? People in the mob, criminals, that sort of thing. Not everybody, but some of us. And my dad knew a lot of those guys. There was always something falling off the back of a truck, that he was bringing home. And I got weird stories with him where even at a very young age, he would take me places and I never understood what was going on. He'd take me into New York City a lot and go into these businesses and go in the back rooms of people. And these guys out in the front would shake my hand and pat me on the head and tell me how much they respected my father. My father was a baker, of all things. He made wedding cakes for mobsters. He used to take me with him to set these wedding cakes up when I got older. And jumping back to when I was real young, and before that, I've told this before. You guys have heard the story. My dad was a child soldier in Greece after World War II. From 1945 to 1950 was the Greek Civil War. At 9 years old, he left home, went down to Athens. He was trained by OSS and SAS. They took like 2 kids from every village. It's a crazy story. The point of that is that he was a badass. He was a badass dude. And when I was 3, he started taking me hunting. There's a picture on my Facebook page where I'm 3 years old, maybe, holding the ear of a dead deer that's hanging next to me. I still remember what that felt like between my fingers. And that was the day he held a 30-06 to my shoulder and let me squeeze off around. 3 years old. They used to take me hunting all the time. Small game, rifle, bow. I remember one time where I was 3 years old and they took me out in the woods, him and his friends, and there was a ditch in the ground filled with leaves. And, brown bags with sandwiches and beer and stuff like that. And they said, don't leave this ditch, stay here. And I would hear gunshots going off all around me. And the guys would come back one by one with what they got: squirrels, pheasant, rabbit, whatever. And I had a plastic machine gun, like a Thompson submachine gun, water gun. It was miniature, but I was so tiny that it was perfectly scaled to my frame. So it was like perfect for me. And they would hold the animal up next to the tree. Go ahead and shoot. I go, bop, 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 and they drop it. So 3 years old, they're training me to be a killer. Straight up. No screwing around, man. So, my whole life as a kid, I just remember sitting in front of my dad and helping, skinning animals, gutting animals, the whole thing. He fed me a deer eyeball that day. I ate it. 3 years old. I'm just saying, I grew up like that. By the time I was 8, I could live in the woods with a knife, snare wire, some fishing line, some fishing hooks, because that's what he would do with me. We would go in the woods, no tent, nothing, just a sleeping bag. Sometimes I'd sleep with him in the bag when I was really small. After that, I had my own bag. We'd sleep on the ground. No tent, nothing. We didn't bring any supplies. he would set spring snares, and we would do a trout line. Trout lines, you tie a piece of fishing line on a sapling or something next to the river, put a bunch of leaders. Leaders are like short lines with hooks. You bait each hook with an earthworm or something, tie a rock on the other end, you throw it in the river. You wake up in the morning, you got catfish on the line, you've got a squirrel or a rabbit, usually a rabbit, in a snare. You eat for 4 days like that. It was awesome. To me, that was normal. Pardon me. You guys know how I get. I haven't talked to anybody yet today. So that's how I grew up. And then again, he was taking me all these places. And I've got countless stories of going to weird places. Even at weird hours, middle of the night sometimes, going to Brooklyn, going to the projects, going to the basement of a project where he was talking to some guy in some back room. It was just crazy stuff going on. So, and my godmother's father was a straight up mobster, and he owned a bunch of diners that my dad used to work in. That's where all the stuff was falling off the back of the truck, right? He was always coming home with cool stuff. And I remember going to those weddings. Man, they were crazy. And their house was nuts. I've described this before. You walk in, it was a marble foyer with a fountain and statues. It was really gaudy and way over the top. And this guy in particular, he was an overweight guy, mustache, bald head. And at all the weddings, he'd put a glass of wine on his head and do the Greek dances, balancing the glass of wine on his head. He became a fall guy for them and used to go to jail all the time. And when he was in jail, they'd take care of his family, you know. Okay. So there's probably some other stuff I could get into, but I want to keep the video a little kind of short. So this is just how I grew up. And I met this dude, Steve-O is his name. And I met him, in the late 90s, I think it was. Late 90s, early 2000s. It was late 90s, yeah. It was probably before 2000. And I was on disability at the time because I had blown my ankle out on a picture. I was working in the movie business at the time. And I was in between surgeries. I was okay. I could walk at the time, and I had money coming in. And I'd met him before. He married a girl that, we won't get into that. But she was in the film business as well at the time. Everybody I was hanging out with at the time, we were all in the movie business. Set dressers, gaffers, carpenters, some actors, that sort of thing. And it was a fun time in LA. And he was going to drive across the country in his little Ford pickup truck to Manhattan to do a job. So I said, hey, I'm not doing anything. You want some company? He's like, yeah, let's do it. So we had this wild adventure driving across the country. We did mostly all two-laners. In 2004, not to get too off track here, you know me, I'm going to do the weave. In 2004, I, and another friend of his, who was also in the film business, we rode our motorcycles from LA to Vancouver Island and back. I think it was 14 days or something like that. Not every day in the saddle, 10 hours plus a day sometimes. And that was a wild adventure where I wanted to beat this guy senseless at one point on that trip. Just because I was aggravated. He's a nice enough guy, but you'll see how it turns out as I get towards the end of the story. So we drive from here to New York, and along the way, things are happening. We're telling each other our stories. Now, this dude was adopted. And it's important to tell you this part because later I meet these people. You're going to hear some name dropping in this video. I'm not trying to sound like I'm some important person or something. Oh, I met these people or I know these people. This is just the truth. It's how it happened. His adoptive parents are the parents of the guitar player for the Foo Fighters, Chris Sheffield, I think his name is. Chris is a cool guy. Of course, he was always nice to me because when he met me, he was told I was a hitman. I didn't know this was going on. I did not know that Steve-O was telling people that I'm a hitman. Again, I'm going to tell you the story of how it happened, but I got to jump back and forth a little bit here. Because Chris always liked me. Chris was cool. People are really nice to you when they think that you kill people for a living. It's amazing how that works. So all right, let's just roll with this. Let's see how the story goes. Apologies. I didn't think too much about this before I started the video. um, a couple things that happened on the trip. We were driving through New Mexico. Actually, probably not that far from uh, Roswell. I know that. We were on our way there. It was middle of the night. It was after midnight. So wee hours in the morning. And we're cruising along. And a cop car. We see flashing lights behind us for quite some ways. And he finally gets to us. We pull over and he keeps going. About 10 minutes after that, we pull up and we see a car, passenger car with the door open. This is in the middle of the desert. Then we see an 18-wheeler stopped, pulled over, with the truck driver there, with his hands on his head. You know, oh, wait, I forgot. I'm sorry, I'm screwing it up already. We see the car, then we see a body on the road with a blanket on it or something covering the body. Then we see the 18-wheeler and the truck driver like this with the cop talking to him, then the cop car. So it looked like the guy was broken down the side of the road, tried to wave down the truck driver, and the truck driver just ran him over. So that was an interesting thing that happened on that trip. We hit a bunch of fun places. We went to Fairmount, Indiana, the hometown of James Dean. I got pictures of all this. I didn't get pictures of the body, but I got pictures of the whole trip. And when we were out and meeting people, I was cracking him up because I have this thing. I'll say anything to anybody. If you guys been here long enough, you know that by now. Look what happened to that transgender person a couple weeks ago. That's another story too, because that went off the rails again. At any rate, we're driving, we're having all these adventures and sharing our stories. So he gets a background on me a little bit. And I worked for the mob, really. I mean, I worked in the nightclubs. It's owned by mobsters. And then I did do collections with a guy, this big dude. I only did it a few times. This big guy named Steve. I don't want to give a lot of Steves. There's 3 Steves in this story now. This is a big guy that plays semi-pro ball. I'm not going to give last names out, right? And Steve was doing collections up north, and he asked me to help him out with that because you couldn't miss him. So people would see him coming and then avoid him. So I helped him with that. You know how that works. You walk up to him, you start talking to the guy, and you explain what's going on, and then he realizes what's going on, and you're like, well, you can give me the money, or by now Steve's standing behind me, or you could deal with Steve. So they always gave me the money. He's a menacing-looking character, this guy. He's like 250 pounds, this big, giant muscle head. Nice guy, fun guy, married, family. It was interesting. At any rate, I'm telling him all these stories. We get to the East Coast, we get to Jersey, and there's a bunch of stories I could tell you from the road that are funny, but again, not having anything to do with this. So when we get to the shore area where he's taking me, I remember my buddy Shakin' Steve. You guys have heard about him here. I've been posting videos of his music lately. So Shakin' Steve did a lot of work with the mob, right? He was a big time DJ for this club, Yakety Yak. And he got to the point where they were paying him $800 a night to DJ because he packed the place. And if he didn't show up, people left. And when he eventually wanted to quit, which he did, he couldn't get any more work anywhere in the state of New Jersey, probably New York either, as a DJ. Because he tried a couple places, and they hired him. And when he showed up to work, the boss told him they can't hire him because they were visited and told, he doesn't work for you. If he doesn't work for us, he doesn't work for anybody. And that's the problem with dealing with these people. Just so you know, don't get involved with these people. Just like, don't become friends with transgender people. They're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs too. Avoid hardened criminals and mobsters and all that stuff, and drug dealers. Just avoid all that at all costs. Whatever you can do. It's not worth the aggravation. At any rate, it's a fun thing. I surprise Steve. So there's Steve-O and Shakin' Steve, right? Surprise Shakin' Steve. We go in the house, and we're sitting at the table, and I'm sitting here, and Steve-O's over here, and Shakin' Steve's at this end of the table, and we're just bullshitting. Those two are getting to know one another. And Shakin' Steve says to me, out of the blue, he says, hey, are you going to go up north and take care of that guy? And it took me a minute to understand what he was talking about, and what it was a pretty serious thing. Years earlier, in the early 90s, late 80s, there was an issue with, well, actually, both of my sisters, and they don't know this. One isn't with us anymore, but my one sister had like a stepdad, and she was upset. She had said that he hit her and whatnot, and I didn't know how true it was. But my father and I had a real conversation about taking that guy out, and same thing had happened with my other sister's husband, and but she didn't always tell the truth. But I'm just saying, my dad and I, you want a bonding moment with your dad? Have a conversation with your father about taking somebody out. That's some heavy stuff, man. And it was just a legit, matter of fact thing that we discussed. But I said to him, I said, look, the problem with this is, of course, your guys are going, oh my God, what are you, crazy? You guys think I'm nuts now. And you're thinking, yeah, well, the problem is getting caught and going to prison. Dumb people get caught, all right? Wouldn't happen. The problem with it was neither one of us had a problem doing something like that, but this is a crazy thing to be admitting here, but what the hell? It didn't happen. Neither of those two guys got killed by us. I'm trying to think. No, one guy is dead, but he died of natural causes eventually. Sorry. The point is, those conversations actually happened. And when it was a couple of years later with my youngest sister with the stepdad situation, that was I was real upset about that. And I went to work, and I'm working with mobsters and people that know heavy hitters in that area, and they liked me. These people I'm a likable guy, you know. And I whistled while I worked. One of the old timers was there, like the godfather of the family, not a big family, a little crew, and but he was an old guy with Coke bottle glasses. And I remember I was shooting pool with him one day, and I beat him, and everybody freaked out. They're like, you're not supposed to beat him, you're supposed to let him win. But he respected the fact that I treated him like anybody else. And I would go around the club working, setting up, and I'd whistle all the time because I'm usually in a pretty good mood when I'm working, and he loved that. I'm just having all these memories flashing in my head. Don't worry, I'm getting to the story. Just a little bit of a weave here. I'm getting to the story. So those guys offered to take care of that situation for me. And I told them, I said, no. If it gets done, I'll take care of it. But again, I didn't know if I could trust the information that was coming at me. And you can't, in my opinion, you can't just go willy-nilly and do something like that, because unless you know for sure. If you know for sure this guy molested that kid or something like that, fuck that. Child molester? I don't give a shit. Fuck that guy. The guys on the drug boats? Fuck those guys. I realize right now I might be freaking people out or pissing people off. I'm just being honest with you. This is how I feel. At any rate, it didn't happen. But here I am. I'm sitting here. I just drove across the country with Steve-O. Shaking Steve says to me, are you going to go up north and take care of that guy? That clicks in my brain. And I say to him, I look at Steve-O, and he's like this. And I look back at Shaking Steve, and I say, well, he doesn't know anything about that stuff. So Shaking Steve drops it, and we just change the subject, keep talking. What I don't realize is now this guy that I drove across the country with, he thinks like I'm a legit hitman. I don't know that. So from here on out, my entire relationship with this guy and everybody I met through him, famous people and other types, became a real bizarre situation. And here's what really cements the deal with this guy. So he goes up to Manhattan. He's working up there in the city. And I'm hanging out the Jersey Shore, and I'm hanging out with my cousin. And he's from West Patterson. So we go up there one day, and we're hanging out with his buddy. And we all decide to drive into Manhattan in my cousin's truck. So we're in the Village, and we're bar hopping. I love, man, the 80s and the 90s in Manhattan, in the Village, was a good time for me. I loved it. I had a great time there. Oh, I just loved it. And wild stuff would always happen. It was always a good time. People watching, the whole thing. I always loved New York City. Now, not so much, right? Then it was fun. At any rate, we're bar hopping, we're having a good time, and they decide they want to go over to Washington Square Park and score some weed. And my advice was don't do that, right? I wouldn't do that. It's not like it was 10 years earlier. And they're like, you know what you're talking about. We're here all the time. I'm like, all right. So we go into the park. It was dark. They were doing work in the park at the time. Excuse me. And I did not feel right. My spidey senses were going off. So they went off looking for a dude. And I said, you guys go. I'm going to sit right here. It was one of those situations where you walk into the park. There's the path. And then the path goes this way. And they walked in that direction, and I'm sitting right there on the fat guardrail, just sitting there. There's a couple guys in the dark over here asking me if I wanted to buy Coke. There's a couple guys over here playing chess in the dark with no lights. Everybody keeps looking at me. I'm like, this doesn't seem right. I just had a vibe, man. Like something inside of me was like, this is not right. So next thing I know, I see them walking back and walking out of the park. I assume that they scored their weed. I get up and follow them. As soon as we get out of the park, onto the street, a bunch of unmarked cars pull up. It's a sting operation. They get arrested. I don't get arrested because I had nothing to do with the drug buy. My cousin says, and he says, dude, stay in the city tonight. Come down and try to get us out of jail in the morning. So now I'm stuck in the city. Where am I going to spend the night? And then I remembered Steve-O's in town. He's doing a picture here. He's working on a movie. So maybe I can crash on the floor in his hotel. So I call him up. Hey, man, Steve-O, listen, I'm in the city. My cousin just got pinched. I need a place to stay for the night. In the morning, I got to go to the jail and see if I can get him out of jail. Now, again, I don't know. In his mind, he thinks he just drove across the country with a hitman. Now he's getting a phone call from the hitman telling him that his cousin just got pinched and needs a place to stay. And he's like, well, let me ask the guy I'm staying with. And he was working right next to him. Didn't have to get off the phone. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, you can stay on the phone. He says, look, we're going to meet tonight at this place for dinner. Why don't you meet us there? So I go to this place for dinner. It's all in the village. And there was a lot of people there. It was probably 20 people. I think I got a picture of the dinner table from that night. I actually met Juan Puente there. There's a last name. I don't mind using that. Juan gave me this tattoo up here. You guys seen the cowboy hat with the angel wings, with the halo? That's from my dad when my dad died. So, funny thing about this was everybody was really nice to me. I mean, ridiculous. Every single person there wanted to get to know me a little bit. Say hi, shake my hand. That's not normal. Like, 20 people? It was weird. I mean, everybody was really nice to me. You know why? Because they thought I was a professional killer. That's why. When people think that you're a professional killer, they're really freaking nice to you. But I don't know. This went on for, well, it doesn't go on now because I don't go out anymore. But this went on for 7 years. For 7 years while he was married to this woman, because she told me after they got divorced. That's what he's been doing. I don't know any of this. So everybody I meet after that. So he ended up, he was a Harley guy. And he ended up in this motorcycle club that was people in the film business. But then, because he's this kind of guy, his whole thing was he really wanted to be in the film business and he wants to be likable. So, that's how that business works. Now you get work in the film business, be cool, be interesting, be funny, be fun to work with. You don't have to be good at it. You just have to be the kind of person other people want around. And that was him. But he was using this story as currency to get jobs and whatnot. Hey, I'm the guy that is friends with a hitman. And so he kept introducing me to people. And I can only assume what he would say to them before he introduced me to them. He'd say something like, hey, I'm going to introduce this guy, Mike. Just so you know, he's a hitman. Don't bring it up. It's not something you should bring up. Be cool. He's a cool guy. He's fun. Just don't piss him off. He'd seen me lose my shit a couple times. So he ends up getting the chapter of the Booze Fighters granted to him. Okay. And he calls me up with this. He's like, dude, we got the Booze Fighters. You're in. If you want to be the Booze Fighters, there's a book. I know I have the book here somewhere. The Wild Ones, I think it's called. And I know it's up there somewhere. Oh, it's right here. This is good. Visual aids. Right here. Got a little dust on it. Have you ever seen the movie with Marlon Brando, The Wild One? That was actually the Booze Fighters, and that event actually took place, and the guys drove through the bars and everything. These guys were World War II vets who were, you become combat veterans, man. You become an adrenaline junkie, and then they got these bikes and they cruised around. They wanted to keep that adrenaline up, but they weren't bad guys. What happened though at this event one day was I think it was a photographer for the Times. I think it was Time magazine. There was a staged photo where they had this fat guy that was drunk on one of the bikes with a bunch of empty beer bottles around him, like he's drinking one. It was a staged photo, but that story in the Times is what created outlaw motorcycle culture. It all started from that. And it's a famous photo. You can look everything up that I'm saying here. It's all accurate, I believe. At any rate, they're going to start an LA chapter of the Booze Fighters. And he's like, you're on a Triumph. He's like, you're the only guy I know so far who's actually in the military. You're in. And I told him, no, I'm not doing that. Like, at the time I was riding with my friends, the Cretans, and I'd kind of done this Gridiron Rebel thing, which was like an online thing. It was, nice. I'm still friends with a lot of those guys who were nice people, but it wasn't my kind of thing. They started, their wives and girlfriends were coming out who were nice people, but not what I wanted to necessarily be part of. The Cretans were fun because they had a clubhouse and we can get rowdy. And, if you got a problem with another dude and he's pissing you off, you can punch him. You get in a fight, knock somebody out, break a shoulder, break some ribs. I did all those things when it was warranted, and nobody's suing you because it's man stuff. I enjoy that. But if you were at a party or out and about and you ran into somebody else, like some three-patch club, Hell's Angel or Mongol or, whatever, those guys were funny. Somebody from every one of those groups at different times, I had met them. And they would say to me, hey, you should think about prospecting with us. And the response I had to them is the same response I had to Steve, which was, dude, you guys, you make up your own bullshit and then you believe it. I'm not doing that. I already had a bad enough experience in the Marine Corps with all the bullshit that went on there. I'm not getting involved with another organization with a bunch of fucking rules that I have to now pay. Fuck that. I'm a free person. I'm not going to willingly get involved with a group of guys and be dictated to what I can and can't do and where I have to be and who I can and can't talk to. That's crazy to me. So the answer was no. So today, the president of the Booze Fighters in LA is Robert Patrick, the actor from Terminator 2. He's done a lot of work. He's a good actor. I've met Robert Patrick on a few occasions. I think I first talked to him on the phone. But again, remember, Steve-O's telling him I'm a hitman. So I remember when I talked to him on the phone the first time, he was coming off like a tough guy to me, like trying to be. That was my take on it. If he sees this, apologies that that's not what you were doing. But that's how it seemed to me, and I didn't like it. It just seemed disingenuous. It's like, why is this guy trying to be hard? I don't understand. I'm just thinking, he was a famous guy, whatever. And I rode with him a few times. I got pictures. I think there's a picture of us together somewhere. And but he's sober. He's never been in the military. The whole thing with the Booze Fighters here, it's just a fake thing. Like it's cool. I'm not knocking them. It's a brotherhood. They want to do it. That's fine. It's totally fine. I don't want to sound like I'm knocking it. It's just not for me personally. That's all. At any rate, that's what that became. But Robert Patrick was weird around me because of this. There was this other guy. He went by Chi-Town Willie, and he was a fun guy. But again, he thinks I'm a hitman. I remember distinctly there was a day where we were over at Steve-O's pad, and I don't know this guy. I'm just getting to know him. And he's needling me, and I got a good sense of humor. It takes a lot for you to push me to the point where now you've pissed me off. I'm not just walking around easy to piss off. I'm a pretty light-hearted guy. I don't assume everybody's out to get me or anything like that. And I'm very confident, and I can take care of myself. We'll talk about that in another video. I have a little bit of a pedigree with training and fighting and all that sort of thing, and I know what to do, and I've done it. So I'm not afraid of anybody, but I don't go out there looking for it. And there was the three of us one day, and we're hanging, and this guy's needling me. It's kind of like when I was on the radio show, when I did that Magic Matt Allen thing, where the brother kept needling me, and I'm like, I was good with it for a while, but by like the sixth time I was on the show, and he kept doing it, and they warned me, they told me he was going to do it. By the sixth time, I was just like, enough of this shit already. What, is that, you just want me to give it back to you? Is that the thing? Because I didn't sign on for this. I didn't sign on for anything. It wasn't like I was getting paid to be there. But I'm only going to take so much needling. I'm only going to take so much crap from anybody. And some people, it's going to be a lot less. If I like you and we're friends, I'll take a lot of shit from you to a point. Eventually, I'm going to say something like, hey, adjust your fucking tone. At ease with that shit. Whatever I say, when I say it, just do what I'm saying, because in my brain, I'm about a split second from beating you on the ground with your head in the ground. That's where my brain goes. It's not good. They programmed me for that shit, the way that they were needling me in the service. That's what it did to me. It screwed me up. And this guy's needling me, and I'm good-natured about it. But finally, something snapped in my head. And I've done this multiple times, and there might be somebody here watching this video laughing right now who's seen me do this in public, where I stand up so fast that my calves will hit the chair and throw the chair back. So I do that. Boom. And he gets up and he walks away. He goes in the house to go to the bathroom. And all this guy was doing was testing to see how far he could push me before he got me to the point where I wanted to kill him. Like that was fun for him. And I'm standing there like this, and Steve was like this. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And after that guy was nothing but nice to me. He just wanted to know how far to push me. That's not cool. Why would you do that to somebody you've been told is a fucking killer? You know what I mean? It's just crazy. But these were these situations I started having. We went up to Santa Barbara together, me and Steve-O, his brother. As I said, I had met Chris multiple times at house parties and stuff. So funny. I didn't know who the Foo Fighters were. Had no idea. And the first time I met Chris, it was a house party over in the Valley, one of Steve's pads. And we're in the backyard. And we would have these fires back there and cook food and everything. We did this fun thing where we had like this club of people for a short period of time where we watch old spaghetti westerns outside in the backyard and cook out. And everybody wear cowboy hats and stuff. It was fun. And I'm hanging out with Chris, again, guitar player for the Foo Fighters. And he's like, yeah, here's my band. We put this tape out, and we put it on, and they were doing covers of funny songs. I'm like, man, you guys are good. Are you signed like with an album? You're good enough to be on the radio. And he just started laughing at me, like, because I didn't know who he was. And we had, matter of fact, Chris got into boxing. He wanted to be a boxer. And so, and he went pro. I think it was a pro. He had a couple pro fights. He didn't stick with it. He was a small guy. And Steve and I went to a couple of his fights. We were right there, like egging him on. And I'm pissed because he was not throwing his hands. I'm just like, throw, man, throw. Anyhow, point is, I know this guy and had multiple experiences with him. And the whole time, he thinks I'm a fucking killer. So he's really nice to me. So here, flash forward a little bit, and we drive up to Santa Barbara to see the Foo Fighters. And we get, we're backstage in the green room and everything, obviously, because Steve and Chris are brothers. And I just remember people being afraid of me. This is the first time people were afraid of me. And Dave Grohl looking at me at the corner of his eye and not wanting to be anywhere near me. You know why? Because he thinks I'm a fucking killer. Everywhere I went, this guy's telling people, and my things dried up for me too in the entertainment business. You know why? Because nobody wants to work with a killer. It's so crazy. And then I'm trying to remember what the series of events were. I guess this happened after. Okay, so the next thing that happens with this guy. So I still at this point don't know that he's been telling this story to everybody. Everybody he works with. He's got to be like, oh yeah, you think that's something? I know a hitman. That's what he's been doing at work for at least 7 years, right? Not cool, man. Not cool. One day, him and Chi-Town Willie come over on their Harleys. I get on my Triumph. We go downtown LA. We go to some knife store. We all buy brand new knives. And then we go to a Cretan party. Started in the middle of the day. And we're hanging out and everybody's getting hammered. And at one point, you know, we're guys. We got knives out. We're fucking around with it, you know. And I spooked Steve-O with that at one point. I had the knife on like this, like, you know, nowhere near him. I wasn't like getting close to him like I was going to stab him or something. I was several feet away. He was sitting out like that. And he was, oh, hey, just kind of startled him for a second. Later in the day, I'm sitting there. I got my Levi's on. I got my engineer boots on. And I got my leg crossed here like this. He walks by me. He's been drinking for hours. Goes like this. He stabs me. He actually stabbed me right in the leg. And he hit the little artery that goes here. And I didn't realize it. I've been drinking. I'm sitting there like this. He stabs me, and I just looked at him like, what the hell, dude? Totally calm. Like nothing phases me. I'm a pretty calm guy. And he looks down at it. I was talking to some chick at the time, and he goes, Mike, I think I fucked you up. And I look down, and I see through the jeans this dark spot. So I put my leg down. I pull my pant leg up. There's a little tiny scar here. I'm not going to bother trying to show it to you. But every time my heart pumped, the blood would shoot out my leg like 3-4 feet like this. And now I got a bunch of people standing around. Like, oh my God, we got to get him to the hospital. Like, just relax. Wayne, give me your belt. Somebody get me a bar rag. And I put the rag on. I applied pressure. I tied a belt. And I partied for another 8 hours or so. So I'm walking around like a pirate all night. You know what I mean? Like the one leg up with this belt, bloody rag on my leg. And because that's what you do when you're a biker at a biker party. There was, 3 patch guys, all kinds of people at this biker party. Bikers and strippers and derby dolls and, those sorts of people. It was a good time. Those were the good old days, man, having a good old time. Fun. And I don't know, I guess it was 1 a.m. or so. I went in the bathroom. I figured maybe it would have clotted up by then. And I take the belt off and just like shooting blood across the bathroom. There's blood spraying on the walls of the bathroom. I'm like, oh shit. So I tie this up. I got to go. Well, not that it matters that much. I had an open face helmet at the time with no face shield, and I wore sunglasses during the day. So now I can't wear sunglasses. Would be too dark to drive at night. So I decided to leave the park. I'm like, I got to go, guys. I got to deal with this wound. So I get on the bike and I ride down Sunset Boulevard right here to Gower and Sunset, and I go to the Payless there, and I just remember there was one register open with a line, and I go and I find like butterfly bandages and some crazy glue, and I'm standing in line, and I got bloodshot eyes from the wind in my face, and I got a bloody rag with my, I look like, death warmed over, basically. I'm all hammered, And a guy that works there is like, sir, come over here, sir. He opened a register just for, he goes, should we call the police? Do we need to call somebody? I'm like, no, I'm fine, dude. I got everything I need right here. I go home, put the crazy glue and the butterfly band. It's totally fine, man. Totally fine. But that dude stabbed me in the friggin' leg, man. He friggin' stabbed me. He's been telling everybody I'm a hitman, then he fucking stabs me. Screw this guy is what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Then he ends up getting divorced, and that's when I find out. I run into his ex one day, and she asks me one day, she says, Mike, I got to ask you. It's years. I've just heard this rumor, and she goes, are you a hitman? And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, well, Steve-O, for the whole time we were married, 7 years, everywhere we went, he told everybody that you were a hitman. What the hell, man? That's just so. Here's the story. Here's the thing. If you ever know somebody you think is a professional killer, the last thing you want to do is tell everybody in your life that you know a professional killer. You know what I'm saying? You hear me? That's stupid. That's a dumb thing to be doing. Dumb thing to be doing. Why do you want to get on the wrong side of somebody who kills people for a living? Stupid. It's friggin' stupid. I'm still pissed off at this guy about it. Screw that guy. Anyhow, there's still people to this day out here in that business that think I'm a fucking killer. And it doesn't help that when I was on that show, Monster House, that I got pushed to the point where I wanted to beat the hell out of somebody. And so they had to arrange a day where they had to interrupt me with can-can girls with their boobs hanging out to derail me from, if you guys saw the episode, Monster House, Paris House, it's on my channel, and then you could watch it other places. It's on YouTube now. And that was I did a video where I played the episode, and I spoke over it, telling you guys what's going on in the background, like what was going on there. So, at any rate, it became very hard for me to get work in the business. And now you know everything I want you to know about my Hitman story. It's so crazy, man. It's so crazy. I've told you about that thing with my dad one time. He took me on this crazy trip. Just, you guys think this out. I was pretty young. I was probably like in the 7 or 8. I was probably 8 years old. And he used to take me hunting all the time. And normally, we would leave the house at like 4 in the morning or so and drive up, when we were in Jersey, it would be like the Delaware Water Gap was his hunting grounds. And so we would drive up, we'd get breakfast, some diner before the sun came up, and we'd get to where we needed to go, and we would park all before the sun came up and, stalk it out, know where we were going and plan it out. Sometimes he would be in a spot, and I knew the area so well where I'd go around, I would flush anything towards him. I want to remind you of this too. That's something I was doing even earlier, 5, 6 years old, where I was flushing deer towards my dad and several of his friends that were all drinking booze with loaded weapons, waiting to shoot whatever comes their way. You know who was coming their way? Me. Like, that was some good parenting there. Good parenting there, Dad. That's my dad right there. Good dude. Funny man. He one day he says we're going, I guess it was supposed to be a hunting trip. It was just very strange because we left in the afternoon and we parked on this weird road, and it was like a cliff, rocky cliff. And we start climbing up this cliff as the sun's going down. And it was tall. I mean, I was a kid, so for me to tell you how tall it was, I can't estimate that. But it was tall enough where we didn't get to the top, and it got dark, and there's a ledge, and we had sleeping bags. And he rolled out the sleeping bags on this ledge, and he goes, get some sleep, we'll get up when the sun comes up. And I remember in the middle of the night, a mouse was under my pack. It woke me up, and I woke him up. I was just a kid. And he was pissed I woke him up out of sleep. He goes, what's going on? I said, mouse here. He goes, where? I said, right here. He goes, bam! He goes, go to sleep now. And I just remember in the morning, we roll up the bags. He takes the dead mouse I slept on, which I didn't really sleep on because there was a dead mouse under my head all night. Didn't exactly put me in the sleeping kind of mood. And he takes the mouse. He throws it off the side of the cliff. He's like, okay, we got to get to the top. So we get to the top. When we get to the top, I remember this. There was a tree that was growing, like you climb the cliff like this, and there's a tree right there overlooking this cliff. Next to the tree, it looks like a tree house or a shed or something that was knocked on its side. So there was no floor to it. So where the floor was upright. And he goes, get in here. And he had a bag of donuts. He goes, here's some donuts. I'll be back. Outside of that was some tall grass and then forest. That's what it looked like to me. I was a kid. He walks through the grass to the forest, and I sit here, and hours go by. I'm sitting there by myself. Eventually, he comes back. Now, here's the thing. I don't remember that he even had a weapon with him. I don't see how this is a hunting trip, He comes back, he gets me. We walk through the grass. We get through that. we kind of make a quick turn and we walk around and we end up getting off this mountain, walking back to the car and going home. That's all that was. Now, that might have just been somebody's backyard for all I know. I don't know what he did. He never told me what he did. And looking back on it as an adult, I wonder to myself, why would you bring your kid through something like that? Unless you needed like an alibi or something. Like, oh, hey, officer, no, I'm just here with my son. we're on a hunting trip. I don't know, but I never asked him what that was about. And I wish he was still alive today so I could ask him. Along with all the other places he took me to. Because if I start thinking about this, I'll have all these memories. But I'm telling you, everywhere I went with him, he used to take me with him to a lot of, like I said earlier in the video, oddball places. And I would meet people that I would never see again. And the men were always like, hey, nice to meet you. Your father's a good man. He's a good fella. You'd hear that, So it always made me wonder. At any rate, that's my Hitman story. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Have a good night. And I'll probably do a Sunday night chat tomorrow too. Catch you up on some of what's been going on. I just wanted to get this out there for you because, as I said, I did the video before. I don't think it's as good. I hope I remembered all the details. I hope that was entertaining enough for you. It's all true. Be kind to one another, And when somebody even if you think something about somebody, you can ask them, get the Skippy on it. But again, like I said earlier, if you think you know somebody that you think is dangerous, I don't think you should be telling everybody. That's a dumb move, man. It's a stupid friggin' move. And I still owe that guy for stabbing me. All right. Have a good night.